following show is a paid program. This show is brought to you by CH Global Financial Services.
Hey family, what's up? Man, I'm so happy you're here with me today. I have State Representative Jarvis Johnson with me. He is from the District of 139. I'm telling you, after we talk today, you are going to have information. Get pen and paper. I'm telling you, you're going to need it. State Rep, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine, Kim. How you doing, my
man? I'm so excited to be with you. If I haven't gotten 20 calls about why I haven't gotten State Representative Jarvis Johnson on here.
And all those calls were from me.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I tell you, we've been friends a long time. State Rep is the sitting rep where everybody asks, what district are you in? 139, and Sylvester Turner was there before, Mayor Sylvester Turner. How did all of this happen, my friend?
Hey, stroke of luck and all God's blessings. That's all it is. So just staying diligent, staying focused, doing the work that I've always done. Prior to being a state rep, I was a city council member, and now I went into business and started doing business in the community. And the mayor, Sylvester, wanted to run for mayor.
Yes.
And the opportunity presented itself, and so here we are. All God's blessings.
I love the fact about it. And we'll go just a little bit back. Your mom always took you places about going out, helping people all the time. Let's talk about Mom. Shout out to her.
Well, you got to give shout out to Cleo.
Oh my God.
People don't know that, I grew up a drug baby. So I had that real bad drug problem. My mother gave me that drug problem because she drugged me everywhere. She drugged me places I didn't want to be. That's who made me who I am. So the fact that she drugged me to work, she drugged me to Mickey Leland's events, she drugged me to church, she drugged me everywhere, man. So all praises to my mother and all the tenacity that she had and the diligence that she had just made me who I am.
And she's done so much for Houston. I just want to give a shout out to her. She really is a beacon, really, for Houston of a lot of things that we are, doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she was, at one point she worked for Mickey Leland, and then from there she went on to become the president of Black United Fund in Texas. And the Black United Fund, FUND, is a funding organization that provided seed money for other nonprofits to make sure that they had the money so that they can be a voice of their own. Because oftentimes when we go get other people's money, we're often beholding to them and not to our mission and what we're trying to get done. And so she wanted to make sure that we had our own support base, and that meant a lot to a lot of organizations, and certainly to help us be our own voice and not to be beholden to others.
I wanted to say that about her because a lot of people don't know a lot of the background about you've been in public service all of your life, with you wanting to or not.
That's right.
I love that.
But I'm glad that we were able to. I'm glad she did do it. I mean, I wouldn't change it. Of course, I hated it growing up, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
I love that. You have a strong sense
of meeting people like you. That's what this whole thing is all about.
It is.
My whole life's existence came to the fact that I can be right here with you.
I sure appreciate that. Now, that's a good one. You got a lot of points on that one, my friend. You have a strong stance on education. Governor Abbott is talking about reopening public schools. And how do you feel during COVID? Since we have the COVID-19 and we're dealing with that, what is your stance on that? What do you feel about that? The reopening of public schools.
Number one, I think the governor is playing politics and playing games with our children's lives. The fact that he's trying to, number one, try to reopen the economy. We want to reopen the economy. But the governor hasn't even opened his own mansion, the governor's mansion. You can't go visit the governor's mansion right now.
Right.
You can't visit the state capitol right now. You can't get a driver's license. Your TxDOT is closed. So at the end of the day, and now you're talking about opening schools, and we have no clue as to what and how we open back up these schools. There's a phrase that I saw that says, if you're having Zoom calls about reopening schools, means that you probably should not be opening schools because you don't even feel comfortable. We're not at a position where we can actually open schools. TEA has said to all of the ISDs that they must come up with their own plan
Right.
to reopen schools, but they have not given the ISDs guidelines to even open. And so, therefore, they're playing games with our children's lives, and I'm not going to sit idly by and allow this to happen.
I like that. You also are there to protect teachers also. You talk very strongly about protecting the teachers and the children. If we're all wearing masks, how are you going to, do that all day? And, you have people up close to each other and things like that. Let's talk about the teachers and how you feel about them.
Well, absolutely. I mean, when you look at the 38% of all the teachers that have been polled said that they're not comfortable going back. They don't really understand how this will work. They're talking about socially distancing. You can't socially distance 14-year-olds in a hallway. You can't
Right.
socially distance them in the gym. You can't socially distance them even in the classroom. And so the fact that we want to protect our teachers, and so you're moving teachers from classroom to classroom as you're trying to keep kids in a classroom so that you can that's just not a good plan. And so we have to protect our teachers because we see what's happening right now. As we're trying to reopen the economy, we're getting hit harder than before. And so that's why we're having record numbers of new cases, and we do not want our teachers to be affected. We don't want our students to be affected. And so we have to come up with a solid plan that I don't think the governor, lieutenant governor, or the commissioner of TEA have actually done. They've actually shown zero leadership in doing this.
What do you think the state needs to do to ensure the safety of both the teachers and the students in going back and reopening? And even not reopening, just the safety.
They're not what?
I said just the safety of the students and the teachers.
Yeah, no, the fact is that you got to come up with a plan. There is
Yeah.
no plan. First of all, how do you sanitize the school? How do you sterilize the school? How do you protect the students even when they get back? We do know mask work. We know all of those things that are in place, but there's not a plan. And so if we're going to go back, we have to have a plan to know how we're going to actually open the schools, how we're going to make sure that we're cleaning them, and then the fact that we can put our kids on a block schedule or make school virtual. And I'm not going to be a strong advocate for virtual because I do know kids need to be in a school setting for socialization, if nothing else, but certainly to have learning.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we have to come up with a plan. They have not come up with a plan at all. I don't even think they've talked to the teachers' unions. I don't think they have certainly not called members to say, how does your constituents feel about it? I've talked to a lot of my constituents. Many of my constituents have said, I'm not sending my student back. I'm not sending my child back to school. This is just not, this is not a healthy situation. We have absolutely no idea of what we're going to be doing, how my child is going to be protected. And so therefore, we have to do, the governor, TEA, commissioner needs to do a much better job than what they're doing.
Absolutely. I love what you said about that. In doing that, as far as the school systems are concerned, they keep talking about the money that they're losing. That's the main thing I hear all the time when it's coming towards school, never about the teachers or the students.
When you say they keep talking about the money, you talking about the governor or TEA?
Yes, of course.
Well, they're using the money as a carrot because they're dangling the money in front of the school districts. They're dangling the money to say, well, if you're going to try to open back up virtually, say for instance for HISD, that's $10 million a day that they'll lose. Because the superintendent says it's safer for us to be in a situation where we can teach our children virtually until we actually come back with a plan. But yes, they're dangling money and they're using money as the carrot to say you have to go back to school. When actually it's not leadership. It's actually horrible what they're doing.
Wow.
It's criminal what they're doing.
Absolutely. You also have a stance on mental health. during the COVID-19. You're very strong on that. Let's talk about some of the things that you're most concerned with mental health.
Well, mental health in the Black community is we're at crisis levels right now, especially when it comes to Black males. As a Black male growing up, I remember always being told, don't cry, suck that up, don't let them see your weakness, don't. And that's something that I've done all my life. That's something I even told my son growing up. We teach our boys how to be tough. But when you're looking at what's going on in America today, you're realizing that we're at crisis levels in terms of our boys and our families being able to have therapy, to work problems through, to talk problems through, to meet with therapists, to actually figure out what's going on. We realize that this George Floyd situation is just one of hundreds of deaths that we have seen to Black men at the hands of police. And in that sense, this is PTSD at its best. Far too often, young Black boys are seeing images of themselves being killed, and it's very scary. And so even for me, as a 48-year-old male, the fact that I have to think about police officers potentially killing me, harming me, is not something that I should be thinking about on a daily basis. My son, he and I have talked about this extensively, and these are conversations that nobody should have to have with their child in regards to police officers, and this is weighing heavily on our kids. Aside from police, it's life, and I don't think that we have ever taken the time to make sure that we do get the therapy we need, because we always say, take it to Jesus, baby, take it to Jesus. But at the end of the day, we need somebody to talk to give us, steps that we can take to mentally heal ourselves, mentally reboot ourselves, and that's what I think where we are, and I think that's certainly what we're doing. And I'm working diligently with Black therapists here in Houston to create a program that actually can help our young Black boys have communication, to have therapy, to be able just to simply talk it out. So I think that we can get to the root of what some of our issues are that we face on a daily basis that I don't think that we talk about enough.
I like what you said on that. A lot of times, and I totally agree with that, in the fact that we as men, especially African American men, we are told not to cry and, suck it up and, get it together or whatever it might be. And many times we do need to speak to someone about, different things that are happening, because that's where anger comes in. We're angry. They depict us as being angry all the time, resisting arrest, combative are some more words that people always say, or the police always say about us. And I agree with that. I know you have something in place. How can we change that?
Well, as I said, what I'm working with right now, it's some educators and to work with our kids academically, but then making sure that we're able to work with our therapists to make sure that our boys have an opportunity of talking to therapists that understand where they come from. Mm-hmm. This is not a forced thing. This is something that I think parents want to do and need to do. But one of the things I wanted to bring up in respect to boys and how important therapy can be, as I mentioned, we always say suck it up. I remember in the 7th grade when my girlfriend broke up with me, and I was so heartbroken. I couldn't cry that out because when I told somebody about don't you let me see you cry over no girl, that actually destroyed how I now looked at relationships then, and so and it didn't create healthy relationships for me moving forward from 7th grade until I became an adult. When you start to realize, wait, that's just probably not the way I should have treated or acted towards women. And so that's why I think it's important that we have these conversations with our boys about relationships, having our boys have conversations about what it means to be in a healthy relationship, how we need to talk things out and not just simply react with anger or even physically. So we have to make sure And that's what this program that we're creating is all about, is to make sure that our young boys have an opportunity of talking it through, making sure that they can, heal themselves and then reboot their minds and be the young boys that will turn into men that we want them to be and that we all desire to see them be, and that our women would want to be, to make sure that they have this young man now becoming a man and understand that he's in touch with his feelings and he knows how to communicate without reacting.
Absolutely. I really like that a whole lot, because many times I hear people saying, their children, they'll take them to the doctor or something like that. They'll classify them as ADHD. Then they want to put them on some medication and then send them back to school because the counselor or the principal has said, hey, they're too hyper. You got to calm them down. They're too much. You got to do something, or put them in special ed or something like that, some other kind of, classes. We've got to, calm them down. And we always try to medicate them in that aspect.
Mm-hmm. When it's not even medication that they need.
Absolutely.
It's just simply understanding. And that's why it's so important that I work with Black therapists that understand from where our boys come from, and not simply just, kind of drawing a broad stroke and say, oh, this is how you should act. This is what you should do. And that's just not it. And so I really want to make sure that we have a healthy program for our boys. And I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback. Oh, what about the girls? Once we heal our boys, then we start working on our girls, and then we start working on our families, and we start working on all of that together. But we must start with where we know the problem is. And so, because every single day we're seeing young Black boys being killed on television. We see the fear of the Black male.
Yes.
And so those are the things that I want to work on and address.
I love the fact that you're doing that, because we have a pipeline to prison, a huge pipeline to prison, and we're finding out through research and education and things that many of those things were mental. There was a lot of mental illness in that aspect. Not always, but many times it was.
Yeah, I mean, you've already mentioned it, the fact that when you look at the number of people who are responding and reacting to police, this is PTSD.
Yes.
I look at Rashard Brooks when he was talking so calmly to those
He
police
was.
officers and being so respectful and saying Mr. or whatever the cop's name was.
Explaining.
He just kept saying it over and over and just talking. And it was almost like they put the cuffs on and it snapped. He snapped. It was like, what's going to happen? I've seen this before. I get put in these cuffs, I'm not getting out.
Right.
I get thrown in the back of that car. I'm not. That is PTSD, because you're reacting to something that you've seen before. I've been down this road before. I've seen this before. I know what they're going to do to me. And that's the only thing that I can come up with as to why he responded and reacted, because that is PTSD. That was something that he had to handle himself. And that's what he thought the best option for him was, because for him to be that calm and then react the way he did, I think, again, that's all mental health that we need to be addressing when it comes to policing, but then when it comes to the other side of just having relationships with our own families.
Yes, you're right. Yes. When we come back, we'll talk more to State Representative Jarvis Johnson.
We'll be right back to the Cam Hill Show after these messages.
Houston's only Cadillac to your door dealer, Ron Carter Cadillac, delivers test drives to your home or office. For a limited time, get $16,000 off all in-stock Cadillac 2019 XT5 crossovers and $19,000 off all in-stock 2019 CT6 sedans. Or experience the first ever 2020 Cadillac XT6 Premium Luxury Collection, only $519 with $1 down for 39 months lease. Or purchase and receive 0.9% APR for 72 months with no payments until November. RonCarterCadillac.com.
When it comes to protecting yourself and your partners, all the information out there can be overwhelming. Visit our website. We are a free and confidential service, striving to help you stay informed and stay notified. We are committed to a healthy Houston.
Houston's only Cadillac to your door dealer, Ron Carter Cadillac, delivers test drives to your home or office. Drive the new 2020 Cadillac XT4, only $399 a month, or the new 2020 XT5, only $429 a month, both for 39 months lease with just $1 down. Or purchase the XT4 or XT5 and enjoy 0.9% APR for 72 months with no payments until November. RonCarterCadillac.com.
Our story begins more than 60 years ago, inside an abandoned chicken coop, where our founder discovered a retired teacher living. No home, no health care. So she said no to this injustice, and yes to transforming lives. It's this drive, this compassion that inspired AARP. Today we empower people to choose how they live as they age. We advocate for health and financial security. We strengthen communities everywhere. We are AARP, creating real possibilities.
And now back to the Cam Hill Show.
Hey family, thank you so much for coming back. We're still talking to State Representative Jarvis Johnson. Hey State Rep, how you doing?
I'm doing good, my man. It's been a pleasure to be on with you, man.
Man, I'm having so much fun. We were just talking about the police. You have filed several bills on police transparency and police, just about the police. Let's talk about some of the bills and some of the things on police transparency that you've tried to have passed.
One of the bills that I've worked on for the last two sessions has been a bill to deal with police being physically and mentally fit. Police officers, when they first join the police force, are psychologically evaluated. And that's the only time that they have psychological evaluations. Beyond that, there's no more psychological evaluations. Oftentimes, these police officers come into the force when they're young, 22, 23 years old. They're not married. They don't have, they don't have financial obligations. And then 10 years in, they may be married. They have, kids. Now they have bills piled up and so forth and so on. The police officers, while have a very stressful job, it also is a very sedentary job. And so many of those individuals have high blood pressure, pulmonary disease. And so the fact is that life goes on. And so oftentimes you have to then come back and evaluate to find out where you are mentally. An interesting statistic that shocks a lot of people is that when we look at police officers, there are actually 47 police officers annually, on average, that die in the line of duty feloniously, which means somebody has either stabbed or shot them. 161 annually actually commit suicide.
Wow.
And so you have 4 times the number of police officers committing suicide than are killed in the line of duty. And that's something that needs to be addressed. We protect their chest all the time with bulletproof vests,
right,
but we never do anything to protect their minds. And so it's important that that bills like this get put in place so that police officers take the time to do psychological evaluating, to make sure that they are, mentally and physically fit to do their job, so that they don't oftentimes just simply react, that they can simply talk things through, that they can work it through in terms of how they are addressing or when they come into contact with other citizens. So that's one of the bills that we certainly wanted to get filed. It didn't get passed. Police officers and police officer unions across the state were adamantly against my bill. For what reason, I have no idea. Many times I heard, that shows weakness by simply admitting that there is a mental problem. Nobody ever wants to admit that there may be some mental issues when it comes to our police officers. But at the end of the day, we have to address it. We have to admit it. I mean, everybody has it. I have it. You have it. We all go through those times in which life catches up. But police officers have guns in their hands. They have, they have a obligation and to protect. And so when you put a gun in somebody's hand who is having, a mental breakdown, then you get what oftentimes we see, especially in the Black community, and that is police officers either killing unarmed Black men But then
Yes.
you see the fact that the great numbers of police officers that are actually committing suicide while still working and being a part of
Right.
the police force.
Right. And you've talked extensively about training and accountability. That many times, even though you've been there 20 years or 15 years, you may need more training, diversity, in diversity and all type of things, especially with racial issues that have come about. You've spoken a lot about that. Let's talk about the accountability and the training portion that's needed.
When you look at police officers, the training that they do, the only training that they're obligated to do annually is their ability to shoot.
Yeah.
That's the extent of their ability to shoot. So they go to target practice and they got to demonstrate their ability to shoot a weapon.
Wow.
That's not, and that's the problem with our police department. The fact that that's not what our police officers are only here to do. They're not here just to simply shoot. They are here to protect our community.
Right.
And so we have to have accountability with them. We have to have trainings with them to be able to handle situations. It's not always the first option is to pull your gun or to pull your taser. It is to de-escalate situations, not escalate. And oftentimes we've seen escalating in our community. We've seen where police officers have actually attacked as opposed to simply being patient enough to wait, talk it out, work it through. Without immediately saying, "Oh, I fear for my life," and then you pull your gun. Well, you didn't need to fear for your life if you're not attacking an individual. When you look at an Elijah McClain was simply walking down the street.
Right.
Why did you feel that he was a threat to you? Where you wanted to ask him? There was no crime being committed.
Right.
Somebody called in and said the guy looks strange. Why are you attacking me? Why did you pull up on Tamir Rice if you feared for your life? Why did you pull up on Tamir Rice if you feared for your life and you shot him within 2 seconds? If you heard about somebody having a gun in a park and you shoot a Tamir, you didn't fear for your life. You were being too aggressive.
Exactly.
So that's the type of trainings that we need to do, is to find officers need to understand, de-escalate, not escalate situations.
And you're very strong, and I love the fact that you're strong on accountability. If you're not doing your job, then you need to go. You need to go. You're not doing your job.
This may not be the job for you.
Exactly. You've been on it. You're trying to do your retirement. You're trying to go to 30 years, but maybe 25 years. You're stressed out mentally, but I know you're trying to get to the 30-year mark or whatever mark it is. But maybe it's just too much.
Right. You may be too much after 5 years. Again, this may not this may not be the job for you. And so if you fear for your life and you got to pull your gun every time, come on, it's not your job.
Absolutely.
This is not
Absolutely.
The job that
And we
you
see it.
need to be in.
The thing about it nowadays that I've noticed, and Will Smith said it so beautifully, is that it's not that it hasn't been happening, it's just been filmed.
Right. No, we understand this is happening in our community, and it's been happening in our community.
Yes.
It goes back to my original point. We've seen this. The fact that George Floyd has come to the world's attention right now.
Yes.
This is not the first time we heard, I can't breathe. We heard Eric Garner say it in 2014, I cannot breathe.
Right.
I can't breathe. I can't. But, and I tell people all the time, and they look at me kind of like I'm strange, but I thank God for the pandemic. And the reason why I say I thank God for the pandemic, because of the pandemic, people have been at home. People now are starting to notice what we have been knowing all our lives about police officers in our communities. We've seen police officers, they've done this for many, 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 many years. But yes, now it's being filmed. And the fact that we're screaming for justice and how people say Black Lives Matter is because we've watched as long as 30 years ago when the police officers were first filmed in LA beating Rodney King.
Yes.
And the fact that they were exonerated said, how does this man's life not matter to where you can beat him on camera?
Yes.
And still be exonerated because you were simply doing your job, or because you feared that this big black man was going to get up and attack you, but you were,
Right.
4 of you were beating him over and over and over again. And we've watched time after time after time other black men being killed on camera
Yes.
and police officers being exonerated because they said they feared for their life.
Right.
And we watch where even in the men who are being compliant, the gentleman in Orlando who was there
Yes.
with the mental health, mentally challenged patient, lying on the ground with his hands in the air,
Yes.
posed no threat, but still was shot. And when they asked the cop, why did you shoot? I don't know.
Exactly.
What the answer was, this is what leads to our issues in our community and mental health issues and the breakdown with police
Right.
officers and the breakdown and how we address these things and how our police officers certainly need to be held accountable. And I'm going to continue to push that police officers are held accountable. And this ain't got nothing to do with the good cops. I don't want nobody to be. I don't want to hear that, man.
Right.
We're talking about the bad ones.
Right.
We know the good ones, but the good ones are not good if they don't stand up as well and scream out against the bad ones. And so that's why I say we have to address that. If the way we stop these things in our community, the way we stop these things in our society,
Yes.
when you start prosecuting the life of another individual,
Exactly.
citizens. And so
Exactly.
and I'm going to push heavily to ensure that these officers are brought to justice.
And you've said it all the time, and I totally agree with the fact we've got to change the law. The law is the main thing we've got to change, because when the law is changed, people will change. You've said it several times. You've been a champion for it. And man, thank you so much for staying out there, because it's hard, I'm sure.
Yeah, and let me add this, because the law is already on the books that you ain't supposed to kill nobody,
Yeah.
police officer or not. It's the juries.
Ooh.
We have to change the culture
Yes.
of what we think about police officers, because the juries, because these officers are being arrested,
Yeah.
they're being charged,
They are.
but they're not being convicted.
Convicted.
And
Yes.
so that has to do with the juries who listen to the testimonies, and then the jury say, maybe he feared for his life, and so we're going to go ahead and give him a no bill or a not guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem, and that's why we have to address the fact that we have to change the culture of
Yeah.
what we think and how we think about police officers doing their job. We have to hold them accountable. Again, I know it's a tough job. I know that they have a very hard job to do, but this does not give you a justification, an excuse, or reason to simply take the life of an unarmed individual simply because you thought you feared for your life, or
Wow.
they posed no threat to you, and yet you still did what you did. We have to address those things, and we have to make sure we get prosecutions, because I'm still very worried. I'm very
Me
worried
too.
about whether or not Chauvin will be convicted. We have to leave that to the juries, because they've already arrested him and the other 3 officers, but we haven't gotten a conviction. And there are a lot of people out there that are throwing a lot of things out about George Floyd that are trying to demonize and dehumanize who he is, talking about his old record. That ain't got nothing to do with what that police officer did to George Floyd. So that's why I believe that we have to make sure we have to keep the pressure on, and we as the black community have to make sure we're part of these juries. Have to make sure that we're going to jury duty, that we are part of these grand juries and a part of the juries that hear these cases.
Absolutely. So family, you heard that. When you get those jury duty summons, we have to go. And this is the reason we have to go. The other thing too, State Rep, let's go with COVID-19. How do we open the state?
How we open the state? Everybody stay at home. Stay home and get better. And then when you stay home and get better, then you could, we could open back up the state. We can do it. But right now, Houston had never closed, man. Texas never.
Right.
We were driving. I was driving around. I was like, man, when this thing first happened, you saw New York was closed down and Cali was closed down. In Texas, man, it was almost 5 o'clock traffic out here.
Right.
And so, we have to be diligent. We have to make sure that we're careful and we keep people safe, because if we do everything that we should do, could do, need to do, then we can get back to our normal lives sooner. But unfortunately, you have people that are politicizing this thing. You got people saying, I don't want to wear a mask, and I don't want to, you're taking away my civil liberties for wearing a mask. No, I'm not taking away your civil liberties for wearing a mask. I'm simply saying, I need you wearing a mask or you don't get me sick, or you don't get sick. And so this has nothing to do with your civil liberties,
Mm-hmm. Right. The other thing too is that by us our numbers have gone up, and they're closing us back down, or have closed some places back down. And that's why we were asking the questions. I've had 3 of them today say, how do we open it back up for the economy?
Again, we can do it. We can do it, but it has to be done carefully. It has to be done thoughtfully. It has to be done strategically. But it has to be done all at one time.
Right.
The greatest meme I saw, is like, if you open up one side of the economy or one state over the other, it's like peeing in one section of the pool. You can't just pee and think that it ain't gonna flow someplace else. And that's what's happening. We're actually seeing that if New York is open but New Jersey is closed,
right,
vice versa, or if Texas is open, Louisiana is closed, and vice versa, these people, we flow into each other's state lines and communities all the time. And so we'll end up. So we have to be on board. But unfortunately, we have a seriously problematic president that is not thoughtful enough, and he's politicizing it far too much, and he's actually his lives in danger. The governor of the state of Texas is actually putting people's lives in danger, and we have to hold them accountable. I think it's criminal,
right,
what they're actually doing. I absolutely think it's criminal.
While we're talking, what other bills do you have that you've put in place over your tenure that you're most proud of?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
What are some bills that you've put in place that you're most proud of? Because you've put a lot of bills, and I just want to highlight some of the things over your tenure since 2016 of some of the things you put in place that are the reason that we're doing, going forward.
Yeah. Oh, well, some of the bills that I'm very proud of is
yes.
My very first term, I was able to pass the CTE bill, which actually put vocational ed back into schools.
Yes.
Many of our schools were not teaching vocations anymore. Many of our young men and women who were graduating, who were not going to college, would leave out of high school without having any skills at all. And so I worked diligently, and we were able to pass the CTE bill that actually mandated that all schools now have to teach CTE. They have to train our young people with vocations, and our young people can actually leave school with certifications, and not just in cosmetology, but it's in everything, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, everything. It's all there for our young people to have. And the other bill that I'm very proud of is the sickle cell bill that we were actually able to pass, that I worked on, because sickle cell in the Black community has been problematic for a very long time. We've not addressed it.
Wow.
And so I was able to pass the bill that made sure that our sickle cell patients are cared for in the manner by which they need to be. We were actually able to put them, because there's no cure for sickle cell.
Right.
And people who are afflicted with sickle cell go into crisis oftentimes. The only thing that they can do is medicate for pain management. And so we were able to put them a part of the pain management program that allows them to be able to have the medicine that they need in order to manage the pain that they're going through. And I think because of the work that that I was able to do and my team, that we now have a lot of pharmaceuticals that are addressing sickle cell, and they've made a lot of strides in making sure that sickle cell is being addressed at this particular time.
Okay, when we come back, we'll talk more to State Rep Jarvis Johnson.
We'll be right back to the Cam Hill Show after these messages.
When it comes to protecting yourself and your partners, all the information out there can be overwhelming. Visit our website. We are a free and confidential service striving to help you stay informed and stay notified. We are committed to a healthy Houston.
Houston's only Cadillac to your door dealer, Ron Carter Cadillac, delivers test drives to your home or office. Drive the new 2020 Cadillac XT4, only $399 a month, or the new 2020 XT5, only $429 a month, both for 39 months lease with just $1 down. Or purchase the XT4 or XT5 and enjoy 0.9% APR for 72 months with no payments until November. RonCarterCadillac.com.
Our story begins more than 60 years ago, inside an abandoned chicken coop, where our founder discovered a retired teacher living. No home, no health care. So she said no to this injustice, and yes to transforming lives. It's this drive, this compassion that inspired AARP. Today we empower people to choose how they live as they age. We advocate for health and financial security. We strengthen communities everywhere. We are AARP. Create
Houston's only Cadillac to your door dealer, Ron Carter Cadillac, delivers test drives to your home or office. For a limited time, get $16,000 off all in-stock Cadillac 2019 XT5 crossovers and $19,000 off all in-stock 2019 CT6 sedans. Or experience the first ever 2020 Cadillac XT6 Premium Luxury Collection, only $519 with $1 down for 39 months lease. Or purchase and receive 0.9% APR for 72 months with no payments until November. RonCarterCadillac.com.
And now back to the Cam Hill Show.
Hey, thank you so much for coming back to the Cam Hill Show. We're talking to State Representative Jarvis Johnson. Hey, State Rep, we were just talking to you a little bit about sickle cell and the bill that you have passed, strongly passed. Great bill.
Thank you. We got some other things we're working on, but we go in terms of sickle cell and education, and CPS, and making sure that our young people are taken care of, making sure that the kids that are in our care, that we are making sure that they are given the best care that they possibly can, because these are our children, and we have to do a much better job.
Absolutely. A lot of people don't know that you extensively help the sickle cell community, the foundation. Shout out to Carla Coleman, who has also told me on several occasions. She said, State Rep has to be here. You have to talk to him about everything he's doing. She's been bragging about the fact that you have really championed for sickle cell community. Why is that? Why sickle cell?
It's actually a pretty interesting and funny story. I met a young lady named Tanya Prince. I was actually running for state rep. When I met her, I was at a civic club meeting in Fifth Ward where I used to be city councilor. They invited me out to do something, and I went out there, and I was needing to run back to Acres Homes, and I met this young lady in the hallway, and she kind of started talking, and I was like, I really need to go. And she started continue to talk to me about sickle cell and talk to me about sickle cell. She had her daughter with her, and her daughter actually has sickle cell. And so as she was talking with me, it really started to resonate with me how unfortunate there was such inequity in the medical field. And that is certainly so unfortunate and what I would believe to be unconstitutional. Why in the world would there ever be inequities in medicine? And why would we treat people with sickle cell with such disdain? And why don't doctors and nurses and have information about a disease that is so very debilitating to the Black community. And you will find that in the medical journals that there's only a small paragraph that even addresses sickle cell. But this is a disease that has afflicted African American people for ever, and yet we have not addressed it. The fact that when people go to the hospital with in crisis, that doctors and nurses treat them as if they're drug seeking. Which they don't understand what the disease is. And so anytime that there is discrimination against the Black community, you're going to see me on the front lines. And so it resonated with me. And when I began to have conversations and talk, then it really started kind of tugging on me. And I started seeing how this disease has hurt our community, and then it just became a part of what I do, and wanted to make sure that I could help, and we were able to pass some bills that never gotten passed before, and so I'm very proud of it.
You really have done that. We just want to definitely thank you on that, because you have championed for so many. You've made a difference in many worlds here in Texas dealing with sickle cell. I've heard from a lot of the patients that have said because of the bills that you've passed is why they're able to get the treatment and the medicines that they need at not so expensive rate, because the rate of the price of the pharmaceuticals are so expensive, but by your bills you have championed and helped in that way, and we thank you so much for that, for the sickle cell part. Definitely.
Well, I've been able to work with many of the pharmaceutical companies that are out there, and those pharmaceutical companies have done what I believe to be a yeoman's job in addressing those issues. And so we're going to continue to work on it. They're wanting to do more trial studies, but unfortunately, you know how when it comes to trial studies, we go, ain't doing no trial studies. We still remember the Tuskegee experiment. We don't trust y'all. So no,
we don't.
You ain't gonna put no experimental drug in.
We ain't trusting no trial.
And I think
we get nervous about a trial.
So we get nervous about any kind of trial. That's right about that. Any kind of trial in court, trial in medicine. Well, none of that.
We're not doing that now. But we do want to, I want to thank you definitely for that. You have several bills since 2016 that you have really done a lot for. And you have any more highlights that you'd want to highlight, some of the things that you've placed or even collaborated on? A lot of collaboration.
One of the things that we're going to be working on, I'll bring a bill to you that another bill that I worked on that didn't pass, that I think we will get past this next session.
Yes.
It's called Confederate Heroes.
Wow.
There's a bill that I drafted, that I wrote, that to abolish what we have in the state of Texas is a state holiday, and it's called Confederate Heroes Day. And that's actually a state holiday that a lot of people don't know about.
Wow. Yeah, nobody, yeah.
And so I worked on this bill because number one, the Confederacy and heroes is oxymoronic. You can't be a Confederate hero. A hero is somebody who does something noble, somebody who does something selfless, somebody who does something for others. Confederates fought to keep slavery. And so the fact is that they created this bill, they created this state holiday that gave or provides the Confederacy with this holiday. And there are many people who fought against my bill to abolish it simply because they said that's their heritage. It's not their heritage. You learn your heritage in a book. You don't learn your heritage through a statue or through a holiday. So that is a complete lie. And so my bill the last time didn't get passed, but I really believe this time around, we're at the right side of history, that a lot of people are now starting to understand that we can address this and we do need to do something about it. And so we're going to work again diligently to make sure that we can abolish this horrendous holiday called Confederate Heroes Day. Now, for those who work for the state, fear not. I'm not trying to take your paid holiday away from you. I want to make sure you get your paid holiday. I don't want to take your day off of work. But at the end of the day, I don't want you to get paid for a day that can be very hurtful to mentally to those of us who understand history and understand what the Confederacy fought for and how they fought to keep us in bondage. And so I'm going to continue to fight to get rid of this holiday and replace it with another holiday. We just may want to call it Veterans, Veteran Heroes Day, something along those lines. But we definitely ain't going to call it Confederate Heroes no more.
Absolutely. We want to remind people that we're in early voting right now under reruns, when people are rerunning, runoffs, I should say. And so it's June 29th to July the 10th, and July the 14th is the actual election day for our runoffs. Wanted to ask, people wanted to know, why should they vote? That's always a question people ask. Why should I vote? Because my vote doesn't count. I hear that all the time.
Well, you're right. Your vote don't count when you don't vote. You don't vote, your vote don't count. But if you don't vote, it's not, the people who voted for Trump. It was the ones who didn't go vote at all that put Trump in office. And if you think you like what you got in Trump, then hey, stay at home. I tell people, I give this story all the time. There was a dog sitting on the porch, and the old man sitting there, and somebody yelping and moaning, and somebody was walking by and said, what's wrong with that dog? And the owner said, he's sitting on a nail. He said, well, why won't he move? He said, I guess it don't hurt bad enough. And so that's where we are right now. You're not hurting bad enough based on the political climate that we're in right now.
Right.
And you're not moved to go vote. I don't know where we are, where you are. If it don't hurt bad enough. Because right now we're in a state of an emergency when it comes to medical care, health care, mental health, especially in the Black community, and how we have become targets on our back. And so it is now more than ever important for us to cast our vote. While you may not see, you may not think that one vote counts.
Right.
It absolutely does. And so we have to do our part, each and every one of us. We have to stand up. There are so many people that fought, died, struggled, sacrificed for us to have this right. And we can never, ever disappoint those that did all that work for us to be where we are today.
Absolutely. And we've got to get prepared for November coming up.
Absolutely.
If we want to change what is going on in America today, we've got to get ready. We've got to get prepared, and we've got to do it now.
Cam, you got a good show, man, a great show, and it's a family. You're a family show. Please don't have me start cursing on this thing. You get me start talking about politics and talking about
we'll go back.
Man, you can see my whole lip turn up. Lip start to
I saw you
up.
changing. I saw you start to change
Man,
that. I saw that.
I'm like biting my lip trying to
I saw you popping out of those clothes like the Hulk.
Man, I'm about to start. Because this nail hurts. This nail hurts me.
Yeah.
And
it's serious.
I'm ready to move. I'm ready to act. I'm ready to respond. I'm ready. But at the end of the day, we can't allow this type of hatred, this type of divisiveness, this type of ignorance.
Yes.
I've never seen an individual so ignorant and unfortunately, there's so many that follow his ignorance.
Yes.
It's what is disappointing to me, and I just don't know where we are in America.
Yes.
Where we can allow somebody with such a horrible track record, background, and we give him excuse after excuse after excuse. A man that has been, and I'm not going to just simply say married multiple times, but bankrupt. he's not only bankrupt morally, he's bankrupt, financially,
Yes.
spiritually, and this individual is running our country and has created this line in the sand and made our communities more
Yes.
divided. And we can't just sit and continue to allow this to happen when we can do something about it by voting strongly.
Yes, we've got to get out there, and we've got to be out there. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And now that we're at home during COVID, people are actually seeing and listening on a daily basis of how this is happening and what's going on. We have got to vote, family. I'm telling you, we're in a crisis. It's like we're in an emergency room and we can't find a bed.
And
State rep, we can't find a bed. We're in an emergency room and can't find a bed. I'm telling you.
Literally, that's literally the truth. There's none. You drive by the medical center right now.
I'm telling you, with COVID, this COVID-19, this is serious.
Yep.
The serious, family. I'm telling you, if you don't want to wear a mask, stay at home. Just stay at home.
Yep.
It's a crisis.
Unfortunately, it is. We are in a crisis. We are definitely in a crisis, and we need to do something about it. We have to be careful.
Yes.
But you have people like your president, like the governor of the state of Texas, that
Yes.
thinks that I'm not gonna wear a mask. Come on, man, lead by example. Lead by example. And I think if we had somebody who led by example, then I think we would be in a lot better situation than we are right now.
Absolutely. How do people get in touch with your group, with you?
I don't know. Man, just go to jarvis.johnson@house.texas.gov. If you start asking me for Twitter, you start asking me for Instagram, you start asking me for, I don't know. I really don't.
I love the website. Just go to the website, they can find it.
Man, I don't. I think I'm gonna get back with you. You're gonna put it on your website or something, man.
Absolutely, we'll do that. We'll do that.
I'm gonna be calling people right now trying to figure out what my Twitter is, how to get
Don't do it. We got the website. We'll post it.
And put it up there.
We'll post it. We'll post it for you. Hey, what would you like to leave with the viewers? What would your last words like to leave with the viewers? We got about 2 minutes.
Man, I'm gonna leave. The last words I want to leave is with you, man. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you finally letting me come on the show. Finally letting me be a part of this great production. I feel more special now. I feel, I was worried at one point. I was like, I didn't see everybody on Cam's show, and I'm not on the show. And I'm like, man, what is wrong? And so, I took it to Jesus, man. I prayed. I said, man, and so I'm glad. I see those 20 calls work, man. I'm paying people to say, call Cam. And so I was paying people to call you to get on this show, man. But
oh my God.
The most important thing that you're doing is bringing the information to the people in a form that is easily digestible, that is fun, and education all at the same time, man. And you bring that energy. Hey, family. You bring that energy, man. And so, I appreciate you, man. And I look forward to having a great session. The TLBC, Texas Legislative Black Caucus, is going to work diligently to continue to pursue opportunities for our kids to get the education that they need, certainly for our community to get the health care that they need. And we're going to pass legislation, and we hope that we can pass legislation that deals with criminal justice. There's so many things that we're going to do, but it takes people going to the polls to vote. We definitely need to flip the House, and we can't do that without our people going back to the polls to vote. So they are our power, and so we need them to step up and help us so that we can really make the sustainable changes that we need to make to make our city, state, and then country the best that they certainly can and deserve to be for our communities as well.
Thank you so much, my friend. Man, I'm so happy for you. I appreciate you so much for coming on. You are a great friend of mine.
You, man. You go help me get one of them Cadillacs too, man. I see the commercial. I said, give a Cadillac, man. You know,
Too funny.
black man in a Cadillac.
That is
I always
State
wanted a
Rep
Cadillac.
Jarvis Johnson, my friend. Thank you, my friend. Have a great session. On tomorrow, we will have Kathy Sapp. She is the executive producer of Girlfriends Check-In. You got to come back on tomorrow. We'll see you. Bye.